lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a venue walkthrough at a place called Hartley Botanica, and I figured to bring you along with me. I don't know how much I can film while I'm there, but I realized that I've never taken you guys along for a walkthrough. I know I did a venue walkthrough question video, but like I never actually took you along for a walkthrough. I haven't cleared it with the couple yet, and I haven't cleared it with the venue yet, so fingers crossed I'll be able to put something together for you guys to, I don't know, watch. One question I get asked a lot is, have you worked at our venue before? And I can say with full confidence that there are very few venues that we've worked at before, because there are so many. So that's something to keep in mind when you are looking at vendors. If they haven't worked at your venue before, that doesn't mean that they're not capable of working there. In fact, because we work at so many new venues all the time, we're really quick on our feet. So I actually see that as a benefit, but it's a good thing when with the longer term planning packages to do a walkthrough if we can. It gives me a feel for the space, it helps me to hone in their design, it helps me to see any potential problems we might come across. So that's why I do recommend that if I'm local enough, or if your planner is local enough to do a walkthrough, that you definitely do one, because it doesn't hurt, right? A couple vendors that might need to see the space beforehand would be your planner, your rental company, and your caterer, because they are heavily involved with setup and teardown. So they need to know the logistics of where they can park, where they can unload their vehicle, how close everything is. Rental companies need to know because they need to know how easy or difficult load in and load out is gonna be. Caterers need to know because they need to see the prep space, if there is one. If there isn't one, they might need to build out a kitchen, which gets really expensive pretty quickly. So those are the key vendors that if you can have a walkthrough, fantastic, but don't fuss if you can't. It just means you might need to be a little bit more hyper aware of the overall layout and logistics as it affects your vendors, so you can communicate that to them. So here's what I'm looking for today. I'm looking to see the overall space, how far everything is apart. I'm a big fan of making sure the ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception are in separate spaces, if possible. Or if we're gonna have to do a flip, I wanna check out and see how much parking there is. But because this is a designated wedding venue, I'm not too concerned about it. It becomes a problem when you're doing a private estate, because oftentimes their parking can be a problem. You should have one parking space for every 2 guests. So something to keep in mind if you're doing an Airbnb or a backyard wedding, you do need a bunch of parking. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I wanna know where the restrooms are. I wanna know how many there are. I wanna know if the staff on site will maintain those restrooms or if that's something we have to do. Just general information to get me better acquainted with the space, to see if there's any gaps in service that need to be filled by either myself or another vendor so we can communicate those. Every single venue is different, unless they're managed by the same company, and even then there are differences between them. But because we work at so many different places, I'm pretty quick to spot those differences. So now I'm gonna go and rock out to some music, because that's what I do when I'm in the car. Because it's, yeah, I like to jam. I like to jam a lot, so I'm gonna go do that and stop rambling, because this is gonna be an editing nightmare. Also, this traffic is a nightmare. Gotta love Southern California. All right, I'll see you guys there. We made it. That was a long one. Oh, let me close this so the lighting's a little better. And put my shoe back on. Half of my keister is cramping right now. Just pulled up, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, I'm at the Hartley Botanica. I believe we're technically in Moore Park. I don't know if I parked correctly. So that's something to keep in mind, because the parking is a little different than I anticipated. It's okay, but it's something we're gonna need to be aware of, because it's not structured parking spaces. So I'll be curious to see if the venue offers parking assistance. If not, it's gonna be difficult to get a certain amount of cars in here because people might not park properly when there's no lines on the ground. I think they're pulling up right now. Yeah! Where are they going? I don't understand what's happening. Oh, okay. They're parking somewhere else. So I'm gonna go and say hi to them because I actually officially haven't met them in person and I'm really pumped about this. And they bought me coffee because I have the best clients ever. Okay, cool. I'll catch you guys in a bit. I'm just gonna be... Okay. Don't panic, but I'm already recording. Just... Can I get her walking away? Yeah. Bye. Thanks for coming. Okay, so we just got done with our walkthrough with Jess and Jess. The Jess and Jess show, and we're super excited about it. But basically I just wanted to prove to you guys that I came here with an actual couple and didn't just come to wander around someone else's property. Like, there are people here. So we just got done, we addressed a couple concerns. I'm gonna take the camera around and go ahead and show you guys, but because it's really cold, I'm gonna say goodbye to them here so they don't have to follow me around. But one thing that's really exciting is that they actually found me because of YouTube.
Thank God.
I can't. So this has been like a really surreal experience, and this is our first time seeing each other in person.
Yes, aside from texting or trying to text you and emails.
I respond.
You do.
I responded.
I'm grateful.
I'm so grateful for you. I'm so excited, not to mention they picked a property that's one, gorgeous, and two, handles everything. So like, oh. Jess wants you to know that she picked it, but she doesn't want to be on camera. But it makes everyone's lives a whole lot easier because it's more all-inclusive. They have catering. So one of the concerns that I had driving in was parking because there were no lines on the ground. So I know I told you guys about that. And then the venue offers valet, right?
Valet, yes, valet included, all the directions too, yeah.
So pretty pumped about that. I'm excited to take you guys around a little bit and show you some of the things that I look for. But because she's freezing, we're all freezing, I'm gonna send them on their merry way and say goodbye to them off camera.
Yay!
That's weird. It feels forced to say goodbye on camera.
No worries.
Okay, well, say bye everyone.
Bye!
We're gonna go ahead and take a walk through the space, and I'm gonna kind of show you what the client or the guest experience is gonna be like. And that's one of the things that I like to do at a walkthrough is gauge the guest experience. I want to figure out how long the distance is between location to location because moving a lot of people takes a lot of time. So right here, we have the bridal suite. Huge, tons of lights, really a bunch of mirrors, which is great for makeup, hair and makeup and getting ready. And now we're gonna go ahead and gauge the distance between there and the ceremony site, because I need to know how far the bride is gonna have to walk. And I also need to know how visible she's gonna be to the guests. So right here is, excuse me, is the entrance for the reception. And we can close that off, which is great, which means guests aren't getting into there too early. And we're still walking from the bridal suite. And right here, we have the ceremony space. So from a guest perspective, it's not that long. It's a little hard to find, so we might need to provide some signage to make sure people get here in a relatively timely manner. And yes, I'm freaking out about all these plants. This space is so cool. Okay, so here is the ceremony space. Not quite sure how well you're gonna be able to hear me over the waterfall, but look at this. Look at this. So as far as Jess's walk is concerned, yes, they're both named Jess, which makes it a little complicated for me. I'm like, hey Jess! Both of their walks are concerned. It's gonna be relatively hidden, which means we can tuck them right there before the ceremony begins. When a ceremony space is really open and really exposed, we have to hold the couple and the bridal party much further back from the ceremony, so they're not just standing there and guests are staring at them waiting for the ceremony to start. So I like this location because there's a bunch of stuff that's hidden. And here, you can't see, but they actually have some stuff strung up in between the trees. And right now it's February, so these trees are looking pretty bare. They'll be a lot more hardy in July. Jess mentioned she wanted to do some florals hanging from those wires and trees. And one thing that I brought up to her is anytime you want to do decorations coming down instead of building up, they're more expensive. So we would need to find a florist that would be willing to hang stuff. That's normally who does the hanging displays. They need to provide their own ladder for liability reasons. And because it's more complicated and it takes more time to do something hanging, it's gonna cost more. So if we can find a florist to do it for like a palatable amount, then yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do it. But it'll be like a good alternate for us. So that's something for you guys to keep in mind. If you wanna hang something, oftentimes it takes longer to set up, takes longer to tear down, and it's more expensive. So now moving forward from the guest experience, we're leaving the ceremony and walking all the way down to the cocktail hour. And because there are so many passageways, I feel like we do need to give a lot more direction. We'll have the officiant make an announcement directing people this way. We're back at the bridal suite, and there is this big area for a sign right here. One of the girls mentioned that oftentimes people will cover this up. So I think we're gonna have some sort of sign here that says ceremony this way, cocktail hour this way. So when guests walk in, they can see that and log it in their brain to remember to come back this way for cocktail hour. So now we're back near the entrance where guests come in. And this, it's about to get really bright. This is the cocktail hour space. Now we have restrooms right here and right here. Currently they have 5 restrooms here on the property, but they are building out 2 more. My only thought with where the restrooms currently are is they're really far from your reception space. So if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to make a pretty long trek to get to them. But the good news is the 2 extra that they're building are actually next to the reception. So that should be helpful. Again, with bathrooms, you need 1 bathroom for every 30 to 50 guests. We're anticipating 150 or less. Just if you're watching this, 100 to 150. One of the brides is quite adamant that they will not have 150 and they will have less. We are looking at about 7 restrooms, which is good. We should be fine there. And this is the cocktail hour space. It's pretty big, pretty expansive, but that's a good thing so people won't feel like sardines kind of shoved into a tin can. And what I love about this space is that there's just so many little nooks for you to explore. Like you can walk over there, there's so many photo opportunities. Normally this is a waterfall that's running. I think they've shut it off for the day. And there's another little space over here. Another walkway back there. Another little passageway right here to another little green space. So while the venue here will have a lot of staffing on site to help direct people, you can see how if someone starts wandering, they might get a wee bit lost. So bringing in some signage might be a little bit helpful. Not too much of a concern. We asked the venue representative about that and she was like, we got plenty of people, we direct them. But just for my own peace of mind, I want to bring out a couple signs to make sure guests know exactly where they're going, so we don't have to run around trying to find people and ushering them into the space. Jess was asking something about lawn games. And this is something I have yet to discuss. That's really loud. In my opinion and my experience, most of the time people don't use them to justify the rental fee. So a couple people will use them. It's a great way to occupy time. What is happening with these helicopters? But I oftentimes don't think they're worth the money. If you really, really want to have them, that's totally fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a bunch of people will use them. Wow, look at that halo of hair. Moving back to the guest experience, this is now leaving the cocktail hour and heading over to the reception. So with this one, there's almost like a zigzag effect. But I do like having the cocktail hour in a separate location because it gives guests a different experience in each area and they don't get too antsy. Does that make sense? And then here's the gate that we passed earlier on our way to the ceremony. And this is the reception space. Look how epic that is. And they have a couple little aviaries here with some birds, which is cute. Now the bulk of the reception is actually happening on that side of this. It's not even a planter. That thing's too massive to be called a planter. We will have, I think, a bar right here. The dessert table's right next to it. The DJ goes up over there. And their sweetheart table will be over there, but we'll go over that in a second. This is where they serve the catering. Now, since they work with one specific caterer, they can help to manage the flow, and the caterer is very familiar with the property, which is amazing. They said they can get through 150 people in 35 to 40 minutes, which is insane, practically unheard of. That's a really, really quick turnaround. Because of the size of this overall bar right here, they can do a 2-sided buffet and just get through people really, really quickly, which for me, from a timeline perspective, is so amazing. So we will have the guests come from here, walk all the way over, and then go through the 2-sided buffet, and then make their way back to their seats. I'll go ahead and give you guys a look at the space. So we will have likely the sweetheart table kind of probably in where that sunny spot is right now. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun won't be in this location on their actual wedding date. Because of the unique kind of formation of this space, I do recommend doing round tables, which is something they do as a standard here, because fitting rectangular tables into an odd shaped space is a lot more difficult. So I prefer to use rounds because you can kind of tuck them into spaces better, and it helps for everything to feel cohesive. If there is one long table here, you can kind of picture how that would feel weird given the curves and dips in the overall landscaping. So this venue offers in-house catering, they offer bartenders, but they allow couples to bring their own alcohol. So another conversation the girls and I were having is when they provide their own alcohol, how much do they provide? what kinds they provide, and in my opinion, I always think it's better to minimize the types of beverages you offer, because if you are paying for and starting up a full bar by yourself, that's a lot of money. If you're buying vodka, tequila, whiskey, rum, all of those hard alcohols, and you want to have enough in case one of those drinks is a smashing success, that's a lot. And then you're buying the mixers and the garnishes. So in my opinion, even if you have the opportunity to do a full open bar on your own, I don't recommend doing it. So for drink service, your main concerns are how many pieces or how many components do you need to buy, and then how long is it going to take to prepare those drinks. You don't want anything too complicated. You don't want anything that takes the bartenders too long to make, because then your line is going to be really long. And nobody likes a long line at a bar. They want to get in, they want to get the drink, they want to get out. And then, how much stuff do you have to buy? All things to consider when doing your walkthrough, when talking with your caterer, when talking with your bartender. Okay, so it's really dark in here at the moment, but you can see they've got plenty of mirrors, which is perfect. And then this giant beast of a mirror. Let me see if I can show you how tall it is. Okay, so for reference, I'm 5'9", and I'm wearing heels. Look how tall that thing is. This will make for some really epic shots. I know the lighting in here is terrible, but the venue rep left and I don't want to turn any of the lights on. So plenty of lighting. Another thing I want to check for is outlets. Okay, so I see a few right there. Probably gonna be a few more right here, because ladies come with a lot of hair stuff. Oh, I'm so blunt. There's some right there, which is great. This couple's rental doesn't start until an hour before their event, and that does present a little bit of a timeline concern for me, because they're contemplating doing a first look, which means, like I've said in videos before, that normally happens 2 hours beforehand. So if they can't be here 2 hours beforehand, that puts a serious limitation on their photography timeline and their getting ready photos. So more likely than not, they will already be fully ready when they get here and maybe do a couple pictures in there. So that's more just for show than it is for the girls actually getting ready. So my guess is there won't be a whole lot of curling irons. So outlets are less of a concern because they won't be here early enough to get ready. But it's good to know for future reference, and it's something you guys need to look for too. And now I'm gonna head across to the shipping container that they typically use for the groom suite. But because we have 2 brides for this event, and they're both named Jess, the other Jess will be in this one before the first look, and then most likely right before the ceremony as well, just to give them a little bit of space to get ready for the big moment. So now, Bridal Suite's back there. God, y'all, this property is sprawling and it's so amazing. And just for frame of reference, reception's over there-ish. Yeah, I think it's right over there. And ceremony is right over there. And cocktail hour is that way. It's really hard to kind of show where everything's happening. Oh, look how cute. It's a little heart. And here is the shipping container. Conceptually is really cool. I like how architectural this is. I like the red. The only downside for this particular spot, let's see if it's unlocked. Oh, it is. There's 2 lights over there. Let me see if I can turn them on. The only downside for this spot is it is really dark in here. So photography wise, that's a huge bummer, especially when the textures of this are really cool. And that back wall, hi, you're cute. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I know that they can, oh wait, sorry guys. I know that they can always do photos out here up against this wall instead. And Jess won't be here for very long anyways, maybe just for a couple getting ready shots, but not much more than that. Man, the photo opportunity here is endless. Look at, oh, I just want to move in. I literally told the venue rep that. I was like, can I move in? Is that okay? Look at that entrance lane. So many good photos. And one thing I appreciate about this location is that they have tons of really great lighting. So at night, the photos are gonna be pretty dang epic. Okay, I'll check in with you guys at the car. Because there's somebody right there and I feel really awkward. So as you can see, there's no lines anywhere. So parking would be an issue if they didn't already have a valet service. Otherwise people would park haphazardly and take up more space, and then we wouldn't be able to fit as many cars. Okay, so walkthrough was a total success. We were able to chat with the venue representative for just a little bit, which is fine. We actually didn't need her for very long. This venue offers a bunch of stuff. They offer rentals, catering, and bartenders. So for the most part, it's kind of like a one-stop shop, which is awesome. I think they might offer the alcohol in-house for a fee, but we've opted to not do that. So there is a little bit of DIY that Jess and Jess are gonna have to do. The concerns I had coming in, as you heard, was the parking. I'm always careful to pay attention to lighting in situations like this because at night, I want to make sure that guests can find their way around really comfortably, and this place is packed with Christmas lights and string lights and uplighting, which will be, one, stunning and beautiful for photos, and two, really practical for guests who are trying to leave. And it's a good thing that we do have that valet service, one, for the parking situation, and two, for when people are leaving, so because there is no lighting here in this parking lot, so the valet service should be able to bring the vehicle up for them and make it a lot easier, because those are concerns. Another thing that I always want to address is the distance between locations. Because we are looking at 100 to 150 person guest count, and there is quite the walk between the ceremony space and the cocktail hour, and then the cocktail hour and the reception, it's going to take longer for people to move. That's something I have to be cognizant of for our timeline. We're going to need to start telling people to move earlier than anticipated because, one, oftentimes they're stuck in conversation and really enjoying themselves and we don't want to rush them too much, and two, they do have a bit of a not haul, it wasn't that bad, but like, it's gonna take them time to go from point A to point B. That means I have to start warning guests before, like 10 to 15 minutes before the grand entrance to get their heinies over there. Another thing we discussed was the seating chart. I like to have it in the cocktail hour because it gives people longer exposure to it. If you are doing a seating chart, don't put it in a walkway because then people will bottleneck as they're walking past trying to figure out where they go. If you put it in the cocktail hour space, then people have a whole hour or so to go over, walk over to it and check it out, see where they're gonna be seated. A bunch of people still forget no matter what, so even if you leave it there, they'll still forget. So sometimes we actually pick it up and take it to the reception space in case people are looking for it. One thing that we like to do when ushering guests from the cocktail hour space to the reception is say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready for the grand entrance, so if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and take a look at the seating chart real fast to figure out what table you're at and then find your way on over. So we verbally remind every single guest we come across, hey, go check out the seating chart. Hey, go check out the seating chart. And make sure it's in a location where a bunch of people can be looking at it at once. Also, make sure your type font isn't too small. Make sure it's not too hard to read or too scripty. Those sorts of things, because we really do need to move people relatively quickly from point A to point B. So while it's fun to be very artistic with it, sometimes it makes it harder for people to read. We want people to be around it for a long time, be able to get to it very quickly so they can find their seat, grab their escort card, and make their way over. If you're doing both seating chart and escort card. Okay, now I'm just rambling. I'm gonna head on home, which will be great. I can't feel my fingers. So that's all we have for today, folks. I know it's definitely a different style video, but people were curious to see what a walkthrough actually looks like, the things that I look for, so hopefully you found this helpful. I wanted to give you a planner's perspective on a walkthrough like this, and I'm glad that all of the concerns that I had were completely taken care of and I'm no longer worried about it, so it's great. Go ahead and like this video to let me know that you like this kind of content because you want to see more behind the scenes filming, so when you like a video, it lets me know that you do enjoy this kind of content. Also subscribe for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. Yeah, and until next week, bye guys!